Babington is a very mixed, multi-faith, multi-ethnic school, which really reflects the diverse nature of Leicester City. What we want to do here is actually raise the achievement above the national standard, and that's what we're trying to do in the RE department. We build on what we're doing on Key Stage 3 by the young people being able to debate and evaluate and listen to other people. We develop the skills of reflection that are needed for the Key Stage 4 syllabuses. So when they're in Key Stage 4, they're good at evaluation, they're good at arguing and debate, and they're good at answering some of those questions which don't really have an easy answer.
So what I want you to do is write on a red card, write down at least 5 things that you think spoil Leicester, make Leicester not as good as it could be. And on the green card, write down 5 things you think are really good about Leicester.
The aim of the lesson was that, first of all, they would have an opportunity to use, if you like, a constructivist approach, which would be where they actually look at the religious teachings and then manage to construct some meaning for themselves. I feel my classroom should be somewhere where young people can look at these things, look at religious teachings, and then kind of try and work out how that works for them and how they can construct meaning in their own lives from that. The idea, first of all, was that the students would have the opportunity to learn about religion by talking to each other, and a number of those students are from a religious background, so it gave that opportunity to learn about religion as they did that. And then we move on from there to look at, again, more about religion, looking at different quotations from religious people as they went round and wrote their comments on the quotations and looked at those quotations. But as they were doing that, they were also beginning to think, well, actually, what can I learn from that? How could I apply what I've learned there into my life, into our lives in Leicester? And so the From Religion was really when they came to doing the bit about one rule for Leicester, was they'd looked at these ideas about religion, and they could then start saying, well, actually, this is what I think would be a good rule for Leicester. Deliberately used what I call the wheel of discussion, because it isn't something you have to do from the front, it's something they can discuss among themselves as they move around and discuss with different people.
You can do that, you can be able to ask questions and suggest answers concerning issues of right and wrong.
If somebody says somebody pushed you by accident or something, and then you just said to them, oh, I hate you, I'm never going to forgive you, I think that's a bit silly because it's just a little thing, it's just an accident. But then, on the other hand, if somebody killed somebody in your family on purpose, planned to do it, then maybe you won't want to forgive them.
If you look around the room, there are a variety of quotations from famous people. A lot of them religious people, not all religious people, and they're all about how we perhaps treat each other, how we can make a difference in where we live, and those sort of things. What I want you to do is go around in your pairs, read them, and then write your thoughts about them. Remember, as you're doing this, it's no good just saying, I agree. It's about good RE, it's about saying, we think this because. We think this because of this, this, and this.
As they go around looking at those quotations, they're kind of trying to interpret them. How does that fit with what they think? What does it mean? What does it mean for them? What does it mean for their actions? More than just, so how does this actually affect religious people? How might that affect me as well? When they'd done that, we gave them an opportunity to have a look at those comments and pick out what they thought were the best comments from their own classmates, the chance to think about that. And then from there, we went to actually producing one rule for Leicester, which they thought would make Leicester a more respectful, a better city than it is now.
We've talked about what might make Leicester better in a way. We've looked at some religious teachings, some ideas, we've thought about those. And what I want you to do is, using the ideas we've talked about, I want you to come up with one rule or guideline that you think would make Leicester a better place.
I think there should be loving the world and peace than hate and anger. So then we could do out of the Play-Doh, we could do a love part and all around it, a fake crack and things like that.
Yeah, so love is about breaking the world is not caring enough of it. That the world needs to be more loving and caring.
I think we should make 2 people out of 2 different colours and make them look like they're shaking hands to show respect.
And we can make them different colours to make it look like they're different colours, and to make a point that different skin coloured people,
it don't matter really.
Yeah.
We're all people.
Yeah, we're all human beings.
To try and link in the skills with what we're doing, we'll also be looking at the personal learning thinking skills, like, for example, effective participators. As they do that exercise, they've got to be able to work together, they've got to support each other, they've got to be team workers, they've got to make sure that they take on the role as they're working in their discussion, or then they're walking around together and talking about things. And also we would encourage, and a lot of my RE will involve discussion skills or presentation skills and those sort of things. So they need to be able to manage themselves, manage their time so they're prepared their work, and then they can present that to the rest of the group, and we'll perhaps spend time judging that and talking about that. But those skills that they develop in RE are skills they can use in any subject that they're learning, and skills for life.
I like that. Excellent. Be better than nice. Treat everyone equally in this beautiful world. Be kind to the world and love your neighbour. And so we've had a chance to think about some religious ideas and then try and apply them to our own city and what we can do to make this world better.
I suppose you talk about it as a humanising pedagogy, that it's the idea is that you'll look at religious ideas and then you'll think, how do those apply to me? How does that fit with me? Because we're not looking at specific, we're not saying, is there a God in this situation? What we're saying is, how do we act? How do we behave? And although religions have teachings about those, we've got to build up how we actually do that in our everyday life. So those young people, even if they have a religion, have got to work out how do they behave according. They've looked at those teachings. They can look at Jesus' teachings. They might be from a Muslim background and say, actually, that's a good way to act. Or they could look at a Muslim teaching and be a Christian, or have no religion at all and say, that's something I'd like to do. I think it's important to forgive, or it's important to treat others as you'd like to be treated. There's all sorts of attitudes being developed. I mean, first attitude is you've got to listen to each other. If you're going to have a discussion, you've got to be able to listen. And I think that's at the heart of good RE, is you need to be able to listen to different people in your lessons, listen to visitors, listen when you go out on a trip or a visit, and all those sort of things. But there's also about trying to understand each other, being able to respectfully disagree and say, actually, I don't agree with that, but I can still get on with you and I can still understand that. I think that's a crucial part of it. And also, as you begin to build up a picture of these different views that are within your class, you understand, well, actually, not everyone is the same. We've all got different beliefs, but we can get on and we can work together. And obviously, the nature of the lesson is all about how can we get on better in Leicester? How could Leicester be better? So it's developing an attitude of how we can be more tolerant, how we can get on better together, and those sort of things. As we go through the school, obviously when they get on to doing GCSE, they will be expected to give their own reasons, as well as religious reasons, about why people think certain things about moral issues. So that's what we're trying to do, and try and build those blocks in place early so they can then put that into practice later on as well. I think one of the reasons why the students really like that type of lesson is there's lots of different types of activities going on, so they don't have long on one activity, which means that they can move around and do different things, but also that they have the opportunity to use different types of learning styles. There's some kinesthetic at the end, there's quite a lot of auditory, some visual learning, a small amount as they're going around, and at the end when they're doing their posters. But also I think it's that students love the opportunity to talk about different religious ideas and those sort of things. And I feel my classroom should always be a place where young people have the opportunity to talk to each other, talk to me, share their ideas, argue about their ideas, discuss them, and that's what they seem to really enjoy and really engages them in religious education.